Israel and that tragic story involving the death of 7 aid workers, including an Australian. Let's bring in the former Labor Senator Stephen Conroy for his thoughts on all this now. So there's a few different elements this morning. Primarily that the family members of the Australian aid worker, Stephen, want or are looking at or wanting authorities to look at potential war crimes here. Israel has said it was an accident. It happened in a war zone. It happened at night. You know, things weren't clear. Is that a war crime? Is that worth pursuing in your view?
Look, I mean, the family have got every right to demand answers as to what happened. Whether we get those answers from the inquiry that the Israeli Defence Forces and government are undertaking, then's the moment to judge whether we've got the truth. Whether it falls into that category, you're in a live war zone, is a difficult point of law. I'm not qualified to pass judgment on that. Others are better qualified, but I absolutely understand that. I think every Australian sympathises with the demands from the family for answers and accountability from the Israeli government.
Well, I mean, look, I was talking to the Foreign Minister about this yesterday. I mean, there are obvious complications when it comes to a proper investigation of this nature. Not everyone's going into Gaza at the moment. It's just the Israeli Defence Forces that could go in. So, I mean, can you get a proper and thorough investigation here?
And those are absolutely valid points. As I said, the Israeli government indicated they will be forthright. We'll wait and see. I don't necessarily trust Benjamin Netanyahu to give straight answers. I've already called for his resignation, a month or so back. I think he continues to be a significant impediment. Equally, those who have yet to call for Hamas to lay down their arms, surrender and hand back the hostages have got some accountability here as well. I mean, we need the ceasefire. We need Hamas to be held accountable. And unfortunately, for many around the world, they seem to think that the cause of this is the Israeli army, as in terms of the overall conflict. I mean, Hamas brutally massacred, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And calling for Netanyahu to be held to account should equally be continued for calls for the Hamas leadership to be held to account. They should surrender. They should lay down their arms. They should hand over the hostages. And then we can get rid of Netanyahu. I think he will last about 30 seconds after this is settled, as he should. I mean, he should just walk now. I mean, there are huge protests in Israel against his leadership for good reason. He was asleep at the watch, and now he's engaged in tactics to try and pretend he's still the strong man that he's always pretended.
Yeah, look, just back on that point earlier too about Hamas, and we're reporting constantly, and I've made this point a few times too, that Hamas keeps rejecting the ceasefire proposals.
Exactly. I mean, there's all sorts of negotiations behind the scenes to try and get Hamas to accept a range of proposals.
Yeah. It's almost like they want this to keep happening.
Well, of course they do. I mean, and Israel are falling for the sucker punch. Israel's friends and allies have said the longer this goes on, the more you roll into Gaza, the more likely you are to have civilian casualties and tragic accidents like this.
Yeah.
And the condemnation will continue. I mean, Israel are continuing to isolate themselves from their friends and their allies.
Can our position change? Do you get the feeling our position is changing when it comes to that language that was used by the PM yesterday?
Well, I think if you look at the UK, I think if you look at the US, I mean, Israel continue to pursue a path that is being criticised by its friends and allies. And then you have a tragic situation like this. That Australians and the family deserve the truth, they deserve the answers, and people need to be held to account. I mean, Netanyahu's put his hand and said, I'm responsible. Okay. Well, it's time to go.
Okay. Stephen, we'll have to leave it there. Good to chat as always.